Clouds. Clouds have been a source of inspiration and awe-inspiring inspiration for a lot of people throughout the ages. Clouds are beautiful. Clouds are atmospheric. Sure. But clouds are very difficult to pull off in 3D engines, okay? At least convincing ones or really good ones, or, clouds that can be used in real time, especially, are notoriously difficult to get right and make them look believable. So in today's video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a material shader for Unreal Engine where your VDB clouds can look quite good. I'm not going to say they're going to look the best that they will ever be. I'm not going to say that they are perfect. I'm not going to say that they're 100% lifelike. All I'm going to say is that they're going to look cool, and I think you guys can appreciate that. So this tutorial is not very complex, but it goes through some very interesting details, which a lot of newcomers and intermediate users are going to, find quite useful. I'm going to provide the VDB file in the description below, so you guys can follow along in this tutorial. Just to do that, it should be, quite easy. And then we'll get the VDB running. You guys can then, play around with it, have a nice cloud, and hopefully you'll want to support the platform and have a look at my cloud pack, which is available on the Unreal Engine Marketplace, Gumroad, and ArtStation. You can get this particular cloud with all of it set up, which is fully blueprint driven, not just materials, not just a material shader, but the blueprint that connects to control the cloud. And as a special sort of addition, it also features the volumetric cloud component from Unreal Engine into the pack, where you can just use, change the default clouds in Unreal Engine with the VDB files, which are a lot higher detail than what Unreal usually comes up with. So yeah, if you want to give it a go, just have a look. But if not, just have a look at this tutorial and you'll learn how to make clouds of your own. And here we are in Unreal Engine 5.3, and I have an example map from my latest VDB cloud pack, where you can see these clouds in action. And as you'll notice, they're really, really nice. These clouds have got self shadows. They are volumetric in nature. They respond to light, as you are seeing. And they're all blueprint controlled over here. So that's part of the actual VDB cloud pack. But we are learning how to make the shader for this particular cloud, okay, for beautiful clouds in Unreal Engine 5.3. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you some of the options that we are going to be able to use with this shader. So the first thing, we are going to be able to change some of the coloring of the cloud, as long as, actually, let me make sure that I've selected this one from here. We are going to be able to change the color of this cloud, although right now you're just noticing that the only thing that happens to this cloud is it goes darker rather than anything else. But that's because some other option is going to make it so that it changes this color later on. So let's just say we're just going to put it to, we'll put this to maybe like a red or something, okay? And then the next option, which is blueprint controlled, it's going to be the density of the cloud. So we can make this cloud very dense or very light, or make it disappear completely. By default, I'm keeping this to a 0.3 kind of thing. This is where we're going to load the material, the VDB texture. So this is how our cloud pretty much gets loaded into the scene. And then over in here, we've got some options for the density. So for example, if you increase this option, you'll make the clouds denser, lighter areas disappear completely, or you can bring them further in. And then with this one, we're effectively removing all the denser areas and leaving only the areas that had, we're removing all the lighter areas and leaving only the ones that had, more density to the cloud. This one is allowing us to, again, do kind of the same thing, but it's now taking the lower values and taking them to 0. And this one is really nice because it allows our cloud to pretty much turn into some form of like a fog layer. As you can see, we've got sun rays and everything coming through that. Then we have two options, which I'm going to show you after we finish off the shader, which is effectively to add indirect lighting to our clouds. This is what they look like without indirect lighting, and this is what it looks like with indirect lighting. And the next option is a trace option, which again, all of these are basically console commands, which I'm going to show you what they are in order to make sure that your clouds are actually visible from far away. And then the next option is the cloud's ability to self-shadow. And you're noticing as we do this, this allows the cloud to become a lot darker at the bottom and maintain sort of like a value of lightness at the top. And then we're able to use this desaturation node, which if we desaturate, this color will be taken into account. And if we increase desaturation, it will obviously it will be inverted. But then we can also go to the subscattering color, and maybe we can make this into a green. And you're not really you're noticing a bit of it in here, but if you really want to be able to see that green more, and you can see it now here as well combined with the red, if we take this red and make it into a white, okay, and now you can see we've got a green tint from the subscattering color, and you pretty much do loads of colors like this in order to further art direct your clouds, and that's a beautiful effect. As you can see, I really love the effects that we can get on here with these settings. So for example, we can do something like that, and then we can also look at increasing its density so we can see that color even more. So that's really nice, right? So those are going to be the options that we're going to have for our VDB clouds, and I'm going to show you how to do that in the shader. Sorry. Okay, now let's start with that. So we're going to use the same scene. There's no point in going and doing another scene. I'm going to be, going to go over here into my content folder somewhere. I'm going to right click and then create a new material. I'm going to call this M Cloud Tutorial. I'm going to also right click it and create a material instance, and we'll leave that as it is for now. But we're going to open our cloud material. So let's go into it in here. The first thing we want to do is ensure that our material shader is set up. Actually, I'm also going to be moving myself from here to maybe somewhere around here, so I'm not really in the way. Okay. Now what we've got with the material shader selected, we need to be able to change its surface domain to a volume, and make sure that we're using an additive volume like that. Okay, that's very important. You don't really need to do much else in here, but apart from maybe ticking this box where it says use with heterogeneous options like that. Okay, so once you do that, you can click apply, and you'll see we only have 4 options left. We're not going to use the ambient occlusion, but we are going to use the albedo, and we are going to use the extinction for our VDBs. Okay, so what we want to do now is load up a VDB texture inside our material. So the first thing we want to do is search for a sparse volumetric texture parameter. Make sure that you're selecting the sample parameter here. So once you get that, you can name this to maybe VDB loader or something. Okay. And we've got attributes and the UVs and texture and so on. So the first thing we want to do now is we want to feed some information into the UV of this. So we're going to search for the local position. We're going to use the local position of our VDB. And we are also going to be searching for the object local. We need to get the local bounds of the VDB. So we know, the box that contains it as well. So now we want to subtract the local position of this from the minimum object local bounds. So we're going to add a subtract node in here. We're going to link the minimum to the B value and the local position to the A value. And now we can also divide between this subtraction that we've done here and the full extent of our bounding box. So in order to do that, we can type in divide. And we'll put this node into the A value and then this one into the B value like that. And now this divide node, we can link into the UVs. By the way, if you select all of these 3 points and press Q, it will just make sure that they're all running in a line. Okay, so we've got that in there now, and we need to use the attributes. Now, I know that the VDBs that I have offered in the collection as well, but also the VDBs that I've got just in general, I've got my density parameter in attribute A. Okay, that's how I imported my VDB into Unreal Engine. And actually, I'm going to do a small snippet in which I'll show you how to import a VDB. So, just so you know how to do it. So now very quickly, if you'd like to import a cloud in Unreal Engine in 5.3, let's say you have a VDB file over here, you can just drag and drop this into your content folder, and you're going to get this Open VDB import option. So it will automatically detect what type of values your VDB file has, and for me it's the density, and I can put it in whatever channel I want in attributes A or in attributes B. Leave it at 8-bit uniform, and then just you do it in the, as I said, in the red channel and over there. Just make sure, if this is not a sequence, so if this is not an animated VDB, just make sure you untick this box so that you can sort of like, you know, get just this one VDB. Because they're numbered in this particular way, what it's going to try to do is bring them as a sequence rather than you know, just one file. So yeah, untick that, press import, and then it will start getting the material in, and there you have it. That's it. It's quite easy to import. Then you can just drop this into your texture. But effectively, we're going to be taking this value from here, and this value normally runs, if we search for a component mask, it will have an RGB sort of information in it. But because we've imported just the density, and I'll show you how that functions in the density importer, we can actually ignore the G and B, the green and blue value, and just use the R value. But you don't want to not use a mask, because if you don't want to use the mask, Unreal will try to sample all the other colors, but there's not going to be anything there, so we will interact negatively with what you're trying to achieve. So we're just masking the green and blue channel, and we're allowing the red channel to pass through. And now we want to connect this to a remap value range. And in these, you've got inputs, high, low, high, you know, all that. What we want to do now, keep one press on the keyboard and left click to add a value. And we can put a value of 0 in there, and then do a duplication. And then the second one, we can do another value of 0 in here in the lows, but then duplicate, and in the highs, we want to put a value of 1. And again, in the second high there, you want to put a value of 1, like that, okay? Now, the next thing we want to do is use a saturate node to make sure that the values are clamped effectively between 0 and 1. And this is going to decide our density, give or take. So what I mean by this is, like, now we can just take this saturation and we can actually put it into a multiply node. So if I select, I search for a multiply node. And here we can add a scalar parameter, so S left click, and we can type that as density multiplier and give it a value of 1 for now and plug that in there. Now this can go into our extinction. So at this point, we should be able to generate our VDB, but it's giving us an error and it says it needs a VDB loaded in here. So in order to do that, let's, I'm gonna go into my collection of VDBs and I'm going to select, well, actually, I'm just going to go maybe to this one and select this one, number 5 here, and just drop it in there. And now you see we get no more errors, and we can apply this, and we're now ready to go. So in our level, we're not going to use a blueprint method. We're going to just use a VDB. Over here, click the plus button, search for hetero. Oh, just make sure when you click the plus button, just leave your mouse there, and then type in heterogeneous. So heterogeneous volume. And now we've added this into the scene over here, okay? Now, where we created our material, which is over here, we can now drop the material instance. I'm selecting it and dropping it into this slot over here, okay? And there you have it. We can see our cloud is now in the scene. Our VDB has been loaded, but it looks terrible. So we're gonna have to fix that. If we double click over here on the file, you can see we've got on the material instance, we've got a density multiplier, the VDB loader, so we can actually add another VDB in here if you want to, or we can also play with the density. So I'm going to put that to a 0.3, but we've now got to resolve this black look, and that's because we actually don't have any color. So what we can do, just very basically, we can add, you know, press free on the keyboard and left click to add a color, and you can connect that into the albedo. Now we can convert this to a parameter and call it scattering color, like that, and give it a default value of white, which is 1111, right? So we press apply, and now if you go back in here, the cloud is looking okay. And also it looks nice, but in your particular scene, it may not look like this. It may actually look, let me show you. It may actually look like this, and it may not even be visible. Might not be visible, might not exist. So in order for you to fix that, I'm going to show you the sorry, it's not in here. I'm going to show you the values that I'm using to see it. So the first thing you want to do is type in r dot heterogeneous volume, and you've got this here where it says max trace distance. If you press that and then you type in a large number like 100,000, you can see, now we can see it. The next time you open your Unreal Engine project, this option will not be, again, you'll have to put it in again. So what I would do is just have a look online very quickly how you can have it add it into an open level, in a level blueprint. It's very easy. You can add that command so it gets executed every time in the project. Okay, so we've got that. And then the next thing, we want to bring the indirect lighting. So I'm going to type in r dash heterogeneous, and you can see it in here, volumes indirect lighting. Okay, and then we just want to add 1, right? Space 1, enter, and now we've got that in there. Okay, it's the same thing. It's a console command which allows our volume to look quite nice. And by the way, there are other options in there that you can do. So if you had a look, there's a lot of options. So I would definitely advise that you play around with these because you'll discover a lot of stuff in there to be done. Okay, so we've got that. We can see the cloud. It's really nice. Now we need to start, 1 second, we need to start playing around with it. Refine the shader, really. Okay, so to refine the shader, we'll go back into our material over in here. And what I want to do now is I want to work on improving our density options. So in order to do this, a good friend of mine, Damian Ramirez, has shown me a nice way of doing this. I really appreciate it. So we're going to use Beer's law as an option to allow us to get better clouds. And he actually, even if you read in here, it will say like, the depth scale, you can use this to make some objects more dense, such as rain clouds. So you know that this is actually, useful for clouds, right? So what we want to do now is we want to use this as sort of a self shadow. So we're going to set up a parameter for the depth scale. So S, left click, and we're going to call that self shadow. We're going to give it a value of 1 and plug it into the depth scale there. Now into the thickness, we're going to take this divide point and drive it into the thickness like that in there. And now we are going to double click the line so we get a point here so we can run multiple inputs from it. We are going to take Beer's law and we're going to put it into an interpolate node into the A value. Into the B value, we're going to press 3 on the keyboard, left click to create a color. And this color, we're going to give it a color of white as a default point and connect this over into the B value. Also, this color, we can right click, convert the parameter and call it sub-scattering color. Okay, so up here we had a scattering color and then we have a sub-scattering color. Okay, now we're going to decide where is this affecting our, how we're going to affect Beer's law effectively, how we're going to make that function. So we want it to be at the bottom of the cloud going towards the top rather than randomly, because if we just use Beer's law as it is here like that, and we just plug this into a sort of a multiply on the color. So I'll show you what I mean. If I put a multiply here, connect the color like that, put into the albedo, and then just take this Beer's law and put into the B value and press apply, we can go back into our cloud here, okay? And with the material, let me just drag the material to the side so we can see it. So I can actually go to self shadow and just do that now. You can see what's happening, right? It's sort of across the whole cloud and it's random. See how random it is? This could be useful, by the way, in many different aspects, but for what we're trying to do, sorry, what did I do now? Did I delete it or something? Okay, there we go. For what we're trying to do, this is not going to be very useful. So we want to mask it so that it starts from the bottom. So what we're going to do is going to go in here. And we are now, let me just disconnect this from here. We're going to connect this lerp node to the multiply that you're seeing there like that. We've got to decide how this alpha is being generated. So it's quite easy. We're going to add a dot product over here and then a color node. Connect that into the B value, and then this particular connection to the A value. This is coming from the divide. Put this into the alpha, and make sure that this has got a value of 1 on the Z axis, okay, or the blue channel, right? We're going to apply that. And if we go back in here into the material, you can see that it's now self-shadowing from the bottom, which is, in this particular cloud, maybe not that amazing. And even if you rotate it, you know, it will still, because that's the coordinates of the cloud, right? You're going to have to, like, if you want to make this cloud darker at the top, you're effectively going to have to invert the alpha. And actually, let me just try that. I've not even tried it, but you know, there's no reason why this wouldn't work. So I can do something like that and apply. And let's see, yeah, see, so now I've moved the self shadow from the top, right? And you know, that's really interesting. But just so you know, the shader magic, right? This is shader magic right here. I'm not a magician, but I'm just saying that this is how crazy Unreal Engine is, you know, as a platform. Okay, so we've got that. Now, what else can we do? So we want to do something here with the scattering, subscattering colors. So for this, we are going to add a desaturation node over here. And what we're going to do is we're going to connect the multiply here that we've got, put that into the saturate node, and then add another scalar parameter, call it desaturation, okay, with a value of 1. Put that into the fraction of this, and then connect this into the albedo. Okay, like that. Now press apply. This is pretty much all the material that we've got. So go back in here. Now, because we've got that desaturation option in there as well, let me just show you guys. Make this a bit bigger, like that. Okay. We can now connect, you know, put both of these on, go desaturation, and start desaturating. So let's say -2 or something. And now we can change the color here, maybe like a red or something. So you can see the desaturation is allowing us to get some really intricate effects here with that red. Or maybe we can do like a green, okay? And you can see how that's sort of affecting our cloud based on the desaturation value and the subscattering color that we've added. We can also add another like a blue in there as well. We get blue, but the lights that's penetrating are green. Okay, so that's really, really cool if you think about it, right? We just decrease that self shadow, increase the density, or decrease the density maybe. Maybe that's better. So it's really up to you how you play around with these settings and what you do with them. There's obviously so many different options to choose from. But that is effectively how we sort our cloud. Sorry. There we go. Now this is a normal cloud. So if I want in here, I can drop another VDB collection. So let's try that one. You see we've got this cloud here. This probably needs a bit more density, so maybe a 0.5, yeah. And then we increase our self shadow to maybe like a 50 or something. It really depends on the type of cloud that you got. Some of them just need more density, while some of them are already quite dense. So you know, for example, look at this one. This is a really dense cloud here. So maybe less self shadow. And maybe the density multiplier is too much, so 0.5 or a 0. Normally I like 0.3, but 0.5 is fine as well. Now imagine you can fly through this cloud now, and it will look really, really nice, as you can see in here. Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Look at that. We're above the clouds, flying through. Isn't this nice? So what I'm trying to do in the next sort of video is maybe look at how we can displace these to give it the effect of movement, which is something that we can do with a shader as well, but I have yet to, you know, do a good enough job on it until I release a video on it. But that's pretty much it. The material is quite simple, but it's very effective. So I think you guys will, you know, can appreciate that we're not a lot of work. We've just managed to make an amazing effect of clouds. Now, again, if you guys would like, just come up with comments and let me know what you think. And if you have any suggestions to improve this, let me know. I'm more than willing to listen to you as the community, because you guys make this happen. But that's all that we have for today, guys. I hope you liked the tutorial. Thank you for watching it. Thank you for supporting the platform. Thank you to all my Patreons. Thank you to all the people that have purchased projects from me and have made this a possibility, and it's allowing me to continue to create content for you guys. So if you found it useful, please leave a like, a comment, and subscribe to the channel. If you are interested in the cloud pack, just have a look on those stores. And yeah, if you'd like to talk to me, just go on Discord and we can have a discourse about anything that you'd be interested in. So I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. Thank you for watching.